Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
There was a time not so long ago when workers were regularly out on strike. Stock markets were crashing and the far left in British politics were agitating for a revolution, including, it appears, one young journalist from Wigan, sitting not very far away. Times have now changed, and these days Paul Mason has recanted his revolutionary Marxism in favour of radical social democracy. In a moment, we'll find out why and hear from Peter Taft, the General Secretary of the Socialist Party and former Chief of Militant, about why he thinks a revolution is still nigh. But first, let's go back to 1987 and hear the views of a couple of familiar faces.
There undoubtedly was the demand for a forum where the left could come in from the cold. For many on the so-called outside left, the Labour conference was a disaster. But since then, spirits have been greatly lifted by the problems of the world's stock market.
The world is never going to be the same again. There's no way back now for Thatcher and for Reagan, and it will be the end of monetarism.
Hello, oh my good friend.
Tony Benn, as the host, hoped it would be a kind of family reunion for the left. But it was a family with immense strains. As well as over 1,000 Labour members, there were many people from way outside the party, like Socialist Worker, and interests like Workers' Power.
It's a tendency within the Labour Party.
To do what?
To organise, to build revolutionary politics within the Labour Party and outside it.
Well, I'm joined now by Peter Taft, General Secretary of the Socialist Party and founder of the Entries Militant Group, which caused Labour so many problems in the 1980s. Welcome to the programme. I hope you enjoyed seeing yourself there a few years back.
I think that jumper is just superb, that Peruvian jumper.
Why didn't you show me at that age?
Yes, you're right. We'll do that next time.
OK.
Now, Paul Mason, back in 1987, you were part of a ginger group agitating for revolutionary... Well, a group, yes, agitating for revolutionary politics in Labour. But when George Osborne recently accused you of being a revolutionary Marxist, you denied it.
Well,
why?
Because I'm not one now.
But you were one.
I mean, that's what we, Thatcher had destroyed the miners. We had extrajudicial force used against working class people. There were riots on the streets. We were fighting a battle for the survival of working class communities, which we lost, which I am terribly sorry about. There are people in Ebervale and Wigan, Lee, where I come from, still living with that, and we were right to fight it.
So why aren't you still fighting it?
Because the world that has emerged is, first of all, different. The world that has emerged, the global economy, the possibilities for social justice that have emerged have to be recalibrated against where you start from, number one. And for me, personally, the journey I've taken is that I think the revolutionary left politics of the 1970s and 80s had this fatal weakness of failing to understand that what most working class people and what ordinary people who work now, let's leave aside the labels, want is an area of self-control within capitalism, within the system. That's what people like Nye Bevan fought for. That's what, as a trade unionist as well as an MP, that's what I would fight for now.
Are you disappointed by this change of heart? Paul Mason says he's just adapting to the world as it is today. You're stuck in the 1970s, 80s.
No, I think he's changed his position, and I think that's regrettable, as he's explained, because I think there's even more of a case today for the battles that we fought 30 years ago, and we won some of those battles. It wasn't all losses. We were the people, that is Militant, now the Socialist Party, who took on Thatcher in Liverpool and defeated her. She was forced to give big concessions to the working class of Liverpool. We were the people also who mobilised 18 million people to defeat the poll tax, and if you read Mrs. Thatcher's biography, you will see she admits in there that that battle, Paul, led to her resignation. It wasn't the EU. Now, those lessons are relevant for today. What does Jeremy Corbyn's election to the leadership of the Labour Party represent? What does the Bernie Sanders phenomena in America represent, where he's talked about revolution? So they're an indication of the massive opposition that's developing to this system. And you've articulated that.
You've left at the time when perhaps Britain and America are ripe for revolution.
Well, look, Bernie Sanders talk of revolution is very clearly about a political revolution in America,
Yes.
throwing money out of politics. And you yourselves have co-thinkers inside. I think in Seattle you've got
Yes.
one city councillor.
First time in 100
absolutely.
years.
And so, but you know, there is a big thing happening horizontally among young people. What we mean by that, not involved in hierarchical groups. There are people on the streets of Paris right now, every night,
Yes.
fighting for social justice. What they're not fighting for is a Leninist revolution. That the possibility of it is gone. Number one. Number two, you know, yes, the struggle. We won things through fighting the poll tax. Your own collaborator, Tommy Sheridan, you know, was heroic, I would argue,
Yes.
in what and the Scottish people followed.
And we had
in large
34
part.
comrades jailed in that battle.
Absolutely. And no, the point is, what do we do now? What do we do now? I think has to be a mixture of resisting the austerity, resisting the injustices that have been inflicted on people, and parliamentary action. And you
We're in
yourself,
favour of that.
you can't even look. Why don't you? Why don't you just come in? Join the Labour Party. Give yourselves, as we did in
on the last
1987. As we did in '97, that was a Labour Party
Yes, I
activist
was
conference.
part of the Labour
why
Party.
don't you- but why don't you do
we
that?
would like to
Because-
join the Labour Party.
I think you should
In
be
the
allowed
same
to.
way as the co-op.
But do you still want a Leninist Marxist revolution?
Yes, in the same way as the co-op.
But Paul Mason says people don't want that.
Paul, no, he's dragging in the idea of Leninism as a hierarchical, centralised...
believe in Leninism?
We believe in parties, yes, because we don't believe that will be a spontaneous movement that can overthrow the most ruthless capitalist class that we've had in history. They are absolutely ruthless. They've been trained to rule. You know, what the phenomena that you've mentioned with Podemos and others, it's a step forward.
Right.
The Corbyn movement's a step forward, but it's a kind of anti-party party.
Because you'd like it to be the sort of party you want it to be, which is this overthrow of the capitalist class.
Yes, but we believe that will be arrived at by democratic discussion and debate. We would like to be part of the Labour Party. Paul wrote a very interesting article in The Guardian in which he said it can't be now centralised, it can't be a top-down party. We agree with that.
Right.
Why not a federation
Why
of
can't
different
you-
organisations and different parties?
Do you think there is still a swell of support for that sort of sentiment?
There's none among young people, and young people, in other
don't
words,
agree.
are way ahead of the kind of fossilised leftism of the 20th century. They have realised that you can have your own personal revolution. You can do quite a lot on your own. And the key difference for me is that so many people have decided that, you know, instead of spending your entire life trying to force Labour to do things, or force Unite or the RMT to do something, just do it yourself.
We
Just
are
get
doing
on-
it
But the
ourselves.
point is, when you do it yourself, you don't need
But you've
a
had to link up.
hierarchical organisation
But
and
Paul,
structure above.
you've-
You just
you-
don't need.
you've
With
linked
a
up-
cell phone, you can do more than you can with a
I think that's childish, frankly. I think what you've explained in your book on post-capitalism is the enormous repressive apparatus that the ruling class worldwide has built up. You gave a very good phrase where you said, think about Manila in Gothenburg.
Yeah.
You talked about the head of Prudential Insurance saying the minimum wage is the enemy of young people. They are ruthless. Do you think by just coming together and in a kind of a general discussion that we'll be able to overthrow this capitalist class? That's childish.
You build
the only way by building is building a mass
power
party.
to it is what I would say. You
Let-
can
let
build
me-
a social counterpower.
Are you still close to Jeremy Corbyn?
In the sense, yes, we support Corbyn. We would like to be part of his project, but Jeremy Corbyn is unfortunately, he's trapped behind enemy lines. It's like the position...
Who's the enemy?
Who? I was going to say, who is the enemy?
Some of them are the Blairites, one of whom you've had in here today. They don't want what Jeremy Corbyn stands for. Paul knows this. We have two parties in one in the Labour Party. We have the Jeremy Corbyn Labour Party and we have the old discredited remnants of the Blairites. We want a real struggle to build a party that represents the overwhelming majority.
Just
and that's
briefly,
not
do you
Blair.
think Peter and his supporters are threatening the potential success of Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, not so far, because they can't win a single election against him. But look, Labour is always an alliance of the left and right. It's just
Agreed.
unusual that the left is leading it.
All right.
That's what the Blairites can't get their head around.
But
They
they're a
need-
And I'm going to have
minority.
to finish it there. Peter, thank you very much for coming in. There's just time before we go to find out the answer to our quiz. Do you remember the question was which leading politician has spent a fortune on their official parliamentary clothes in the past 5 years? Home Secretary Theresa May, Jeremy Corbyn's project suit, the Lord Speaker Baroness de Souza, or the Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon? Who do you think spent all that money?
It is the Lord's Speaker, nearly £10,000.
It is. It's Baroness de Souza. Well done, you. I don't know what... You don't get a cash prize, I'm afraid, but you can probably take a mug.
Free membership of the Socialist
Thank you for
Party
being with
for
us.
a year.
Bye.